Hey, this is Jennifer Ruffley, and you're watching Ask an Expert. I'm a clinical instructor and a K-State instructor with over 15 years working in the elementary level, K through 7th grade. I've worked in Kansas, Tennessee, and Virginia, so I've got a little bit of experience from all over the country. Today, I'm going to be answering your questions about cooperative learning strategies. Let's get started.
Hi, my name is Brianna Hammond, and I will be entering Block B this coming fall. And I've heard 1,000 times about what cooperative learning is and the role students play in project-based environments, but what I haven't heard about is how to implement it and how to use it in other settings.
That's an excellent question. One of the things we hear from pre-service teachers and also novice teachers is that they really struggle to implement everything that they've learned in their practicum, and they really struggle if they've never seen something implemented on figuring out how they're going to implement these strategies into their classroom. The thing to know about cooperative learning is that your classroom has to be structured and your expectations have to be structured in order to implement this successfully. Your class should be set up in groups. You should not have your students just sitting in lines and rows. You should encourage face-to-face talk with your students. In order to make that effective, you have to have your students understand what your expectation is. So you might say when you're talking to a partner, your voice level needs to be at a 2, and we're going to practice what a 2 looks like. Or your voice level needs to be at a 3 when you're talking to a group, but this is what a 3 sounds like in the classroom. So your expectations have to be very clear. The other part about implementing these as a novice teacher is you need to understand that you've got to write these into your lesson plans. You will have so much new material to learn. You will have so many new strategies that you're just really wanting to try. You've got to write these into your lesson plans so you know exactly when and where you're going to implement these strategies. The 5 strategies I'm going to talk to you about today are Kagan's Essential 5. And he has these strategies, and students really, these become routine. If you implement these effectively, they will become routine for students. And you can name one off and students will know exactly what's expected of them. The first one is called Rally Robin, where students rally back and forth. You have one student talking and then another student talking, and then they can share their ideas back and forth. And they alternate between those brief oral responses. And then that way they can share their thoughts or their answers with their partner. The next one is timed pair share. So students will share with their partner for a set amount of time, and then then the other partner will be able to share. So they kind of go back and forth, but you time it. So you have them paired up, and then you time that exchange. The third one is round robin, where you have your students stay in a group environment rather than pairing. And in that group environment, you then go around the group and you ask students to share. So you might say, okay, I want number 1s to share first today, and then number 2, 3, 4, you can start at 4 or go backwards, whatever you choose to do for that day. The fourth one is called Rally Coach. And this one's really important because a lot of the times you'll have students that kind of get in a rut and they say, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. I need help. And you can say, you know what, go find your rally coach. Go to your rally coach and run your ideas by them and have them talk to you. And this is really very effective if you've created a positive classroom environment. If your students have the mindset of being supportive of each other, this is a very effective strategy because students will not make fun of or degrade a student for not knowing. They'll be excited that, oh, they came to me as their rally coach. They want me to help them. And you can even assign rally coaches until your students get a little more comfortable with each other. The final one is stand up, hand up, pair up. And students are given a problem or a question. And then they put their hand up and they go find a partner. And then they pair their hands together with their partner. And then they share their ideas. In sharing those ideas, then both partners get to share. And if it's a problem that they could talk to several different people about, you could even send them to another one. Okay, time's up. Go find another. Stand up, hand up, pair up. Or you can say hand up, pair up. And students will go find another partner around the classroom. And then they'll be able to share again. So it's a very effective way to get students to talk to several different students in the classroom. A couple of things that are really effective about these strategies. One, if you have a shy kiddo, you have a kiddo that you know has the answer but does not want to say the answer in class. If you want that answer verbally shared, you could actually say to him, Marcus, could you share what your partner told you? Or Marcus, would you mind sharing with your partner how your partner answered that question? That takes the threatening side away from what Marcus wants to say. And I think oftentimes you'll find that Marcus will share his partner's answer, but then Marcus will also add in kind of what he wanted to say as well. But it's a less threatening environment for Marcus because if it does happen to be wrong, it's not Marcus's answer, it was his partner's answer. So it's a good way to get other students involved. The other thing is you can have all 25 kids in your class talking in a matter of 30 seconds to a minute rather than just asking one student to answer the question. Everybody in the class raise your hands. I'm going to draw a stick and I'm only going to call on one student. So this is a way to get all of your students involved. You can use it clear across the curriculum. I mean, it can be used in a math lesson. It can be used in a project-based learning assignment. It can be used in a lab for science. Any type of assignment that you can have your students cooperative learning as long as you have those effective strategies in place and your expectations are kept high.
Hi, my name is Chris Bailey. I'm a secondary education graduate at K-State and a school counseling master's student that works with the K-State Call Me Mister program. Here's my question for you. How do we accommodate all learners in the music classroom? For example, there are multiple diverse learning levels. So how do we keep everybody cognitively engaged? And also, are there any classroom strategies for new beginning teachers in the music classroom? Thanks.
Accommodating all learners in the music classroom is definitely a feat. You're going to have different grade levels throughout the day. You have students coming from different classroom teachers with different expectations. My advice for you in order to accommodate all learners in your classroom as well as keep them engaged is to offer things that appeal to all different types of students. You need to have very high expectations of your expectations in the classroom. You need to go over those, teach the students what's expected. When we're working with instruments, these are the rules and this is what needs to happen. But come at the students in the fact that these instruments are important to me and we need to take care of them because we take care of our things. Don't come at the students that, these are my instruments, don't break them. So that is my first suggestion. My next suggestion is to work very closely with your classroom teacher. If you know each classroom teacher and you know their expectations and how they run their class, you might gauge your attitude and your demeanor towards the student kind of based on what they're used to within their classroom. As far as keeping all of the students engaged in your lesson, you need to find what each student is passionate about, and you need to have a variety of experiences ready for students. So not all students are going to be excited about starting the recorder. Not all students want to play the recorder. A large majority of them will, but a lot won't. And you need to build a relationship with those kids. You need to learn what their passion is. Maybe that kiddo that really does not want to play the recorder is really interested in running the lights. So you can tell them, you know what, buddy, we've got to learn the recorder, but I've got a really cool job for you at our next program. Would you be interested in coming and running the lights or running the sound or helping advance the slide on the PowerPoint? Find an area that you can connect with those kiddos and they'll respect you a lot more, and then that will keep them more engaged in your lesson. As far as cooperative learning in the music classroom, that can be done a variety of ways. You can have different centers set up for your students. Maybe they visit a center every time they're in the classroom. Have those expectations listed at each center and offer a variety of experiences for your students. Maybe have different instruments in one center, and the next center maybe have another cognitive activity that they can then engage themselves into, so they don't feel like it's always the same thing in music. They're not sitting on a certain spot on the carpet. They're not singing out of a certain book every day. Think of the engagement that you need to have within your classroom, and you'll be a lot more effective in the music classroom.
Hi, my name is Michaela. I will be doing Block A in the fall, and I was wondering how you find topics that interest all the students. Usually you have a pretty diverse group and they're all, interested in different things, but how do you keep them engaged and really have them stay focused in the classroom? I was also wondering what strategies you implement for that also, and do you really believe that these work? So anyway, thank you.
I'm probably not going to give you the answer you want to this question, but as far as finding a topic that's interesting to all students, you're not going to. You're not going to. You can talk to any adult, and I believe that you will find a subject that that adult says, that was my favorite subject. And then you'll find a subject that they'll say, I didn't like it. It was very difficult for me, or I don't care about that topic. I'm more of a math person myself, and I don't really enjoy social studies. I apologize to you social studies majors, but it's just not my forte. It's nothing that I was ever interested in. I do have very positive experiences of things I remember when I was in social studies throughout school. I have some teachers that made some real world connections for me. And it's a little funny that I have my map behind me as decoration because I do enjoy it now a little more than I did because it was a real world experience for me. That is going to be the biggest thing for your kids. If you are lecturing about every river that is in Egypt, your students are not going to be engaged in your lesson. It's all about presentation. Cooperative learning is huge to get students engaged. If you have students able to discuss things with one another, and if you have a student that really doesn't enjoy math, but they know that if they're struggling, they can go to a rally coach, or they know that they get to talk to their partner. They know that they don't have to share that math answer because they're nervous, they're scared, they're not sure that they want to answer that question out loud. It really helps students. It really makes them feel a little more comfortable, and it makes it a little less painless to get through that subject area. Again, I'm going to say it, have really high expectations for them. Explain to them, you know what, we got to get through this, and we're going to make it as fun as we possibly can. I know that you don't like science, and that's okay, but we're going to do everything we can to make you love science this year. And if you go at your students with that attitude of, it's my goal this year to make you love science, and we're going to do everything we can to help you like this. And even if they don't like it at the end of the year, give them a great job. You did amazing putting in the effort. You did amazing at putting your whole heart into something that I know was kind of painful for you, but I'm really proud of you. If your students hear that from you, they're going to work harder for you.
Hello, I'm Jose, and I'm an architecture student here at K-State working at the Catalyst at the College of Education, and I have a question for you guys. How do you go from group work to cooperative learning? Do you assign roles in the group, or do you have students designate their own roles? How does cooperative learning play a role in project-based learning?
Oh, good old group work. Group work is an old term where you had number one go get the papers, and then their job is done for the rest of the day. Number two is the recorder. So number two just has to write. They don't have to think today. Number three is the one that's going to look all the answers up in the textbook. So they're the ones that have to work today. And number four is going to be the reporter. So all they have to do is read what the recorder wrote. Those days are long gone, folks. We want all students engaged. You don't need to go from group work to cooperative learning. What you need to do is just set up an environment in your classroom that we're all learning. We're all going to share. Every single person in this classroom, your thoughts are important. You need to implement it right away. And you don't assign roles in the group. You don't tell students, number one, you do this. You don't do that because they all need to be in charge of their own learning, and they all need to know that what they are thinking and what they've learned is important to share.
Hi, my name is Logan, and I am a senior in music education and will actually be entering my student teaching semester here in a few short weeks. The question I had is, what are some professional development resources that you use specifically that foster and encourage cooperative learning in the classroom? Thanks.
There are numerous TED Talks on cooperative learning. Finding those resources is fairly easy. Now, if you Google Kagan strategies, it's Kagen, or if you just Google, effective cooperative learning strategies, several can be found on the internet. One of the strong places to go is to go watch a TED Talk about Kagan strategies or about cooperative learning. As far as what are the types of cooperative learning, we kind of addressed that in the first question as far as the essential five of Kagan. Cooperative learning is anytime you have your students working together with everyone engaged and involved in their own learning. So that is really the generic and the overall definition of cooperative learning. And then your final question, how do you fit it into every subject area and all content areas? Well, in math, cooperative learning can be, okay, rally robin, go with your partners real quick. Okay, rally in your group. Just very quickly, show with your shoulder partner, with your face partner, your elbow partner. Have students talking. That's how you engage them. That's how you effectively implement this in your classroom. They need to be supporting each other. You need to have that community created so your students are well aware of what you're expecting of them.
Hi, my name is Ellie, and I'm about to enter into Block 2 for Secondary Ed English. And I'm just wondering, as I'm starting to work with high schoolers and using some of our cooperative learning techniques, how do I keep the kids interested?
Keeping students interested is very important in providing effective instruction. When students are allowed to talk and share and feel like they're valued in the classroom, you will hold a student's attention a lot longer. The other thing that you need to ensure that you've done is create an environment of mutual respect. If your students want to please you and they want you to be proud of them, then they're going to show a lot more interest in the subject areas that you're teaching rather than students that don't think that you respect them or don't think that you value their opinion. Several ways to do this, but just ensuring that you are reaffirming your care and your love for your students. I always called my students mine. I said, your parents have you in the evening, but I have you all day long. You're my kids, and you'll be my kids until the day I die. I tell them all the time, you come to find me in 20 years, you're still my kids. You've always been my kids. And calling them my kids in the hallway, going up and saying, what did my boy do? Did he do something awesome? In front of another teacher, always assuming the best of your kids is just one way to build that mutual respect with your kiddos. And you respect them, they're going to respect you as well. Another way to make sure that you're keeping kids engaged, one is to provide a positive routine. A lot of students, especially in a high area of a low SES or a high transitional school, a transient school, if you have students that transition a lot in their life, providing that routine and providing that environment where they know what to expect next is imperative. You've got to provide that for your students. With that said, you also need to provide a variety of instructional strategies. Your students should know that they need to come in and that this is what math looks like, but your instructional strategies can vary daily based on the needs of your learners. So keeping them interested, one of the biggest things is going to be respect, but also just really varying your instructional strategies. That's going to be very important.